Hello everyone, welcome to the Autoimmune Dietitian YouTube channel. My name is Annie. I'm a registered dietitian and I work with people struggling with autoimmune diseases. In my work with my clients, I help them use food and lifestyle as a way to improve their symptoms and to help them feel better. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis back in 2008, and I remember my doctor telling me that I would be okay as long as I kept my disease under control, but didn't really tell me much more than that. For years, I kept my diagnosis a secret from people. Even my closest friends had no idea what I was going through. And to be honest, I was in denial for a very long time. I never bothered to understand what exactly was happening in my body, and I just kind of accepted that I had this condition and the medication I was taking worked and I didn't need to do anything else. But it would have been really helpful if someone had explained to me what an autoimmune disease actually is. So today I'm going to do that for you in case no one has told you what it is. And we're going to kick it off by talking about what are autoimmune diseases. So autoimmune diseases occur when your immune system attacks healthy cells, tissues, and or organs in your body. Under normal conditions, your immune system only attacks what we call invaders, such as bacteria, viruses, infections, and so forth. And your immune system can usually tell the difference between yourself and your non-self. Non-self meaning all these other things like viruses and bacteria. However, with autoimmune diseases, certain cells called autoreactive immune T cells are activated. And these cells are normally either killed or regulated by the central and peripheral immune tolerance systems in your body. But in some cases, these autoreactive T cells activate, causing a cascade of immune responses that end up destroying your body's own tissues and cells. In response, the body makes self-antigens against these cells and thus continues to attack your body's healthy tissue, triggering an autoimmune response. So let's break this down a little further if that seemed really confusing. What is actually going on with your immune system that it decides to mount an attack on your body? So autoimmune and the dysregulation of the immune system happens in the adaptive immunity part of your immune system. The adaptive part is your acquired immunity, what your body learns to protect itself against. Your immune system has two key types of cells. You have T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, known as T cells and B cells for short. T cells secrete cytokines to trigger immune responses, and they are also your regulatory cells or micromanagers of your immune system. They differentiate into more specific types, but that's more detail than we need right now. B cells are the cells that make the specific antibodies so that your body can remember what it fought against in the past. And so if it comes across those things again, it can mount an attack quicker. So let's talk about the immune system. Your lymphocytes are created in your bone marrow and your thymus and create what's called your central tolerance. So again, that your B cells and your T cells, these are your lymphocytes. So this central tolerance helps shape your immune system and keeps it balanced. And then you have something called your peripheral tolerance, and that is like your body's policing system. Any T cells that your body creates that happen to be self-reactive are destroyed. And B cells also help regulate this peripheral tolerance. However, there are some T cells and B cells that are autoreactive or self-reactive, and they can leak out into circulation. And in fact, everyone actually has autoreactive T and B cells floating around, whether or not they have a diagnosed autoimmune disease or not. But here's the difference. People can have physiological autoimmunity where you have these autoreactive T and B cells that just are floating around, but they're causing no damage. Or you can have pathological autoimmunity that is triggered by your genetics plus some sort of outside environmental trigger or factor where your immune system becomes dysregulated. And this is where you see tissue and organ damage or an active immune disease. So this active autoimmune disease happens when either the T cells are overreactive or your T regulatory cells are not active enough. You can also have autoantibody production where your body starts making antibodies against its own tissues, and that produces an attack on a cell or protein in your body. Okay, hopefully that made things a little bit more clear. I know it's a lot of information and abbreviations to understand, but the immune system is very, very complicated. So I'm trying to break this down as simply as possible. So let's kind of dive into different types of autoimmune diseases. So the medical world likes to categorize autoimmune diseases into two different types: organ-specific and non-organ specific. Some diseases fit neatly into these categories, while others fall somewhere in the middle. So organ autoimmune disease is where one organ is attacked. So for instance, Hashimoto's or Graves' disease involves the thyroid, Addison's disease involves the adrenal gland, type 1 diabetes involves the pancreas, and celiac disease involves the small intestine. And then you have non-organ, which is where the immune system attacks are more widespread, such as rheumatoid arthritis, which attacks your joints, lupus, which can attack connective tissue, joints, and organs, and then multiple sclerosis, which attacks your nervous system. Okay, so what causes these in the first place? So why do some people have autoreactive T and B cells? Why that is, it's not really clear. Many people may have a genetic predisposition to them and never develop them. Others find that they develop these self-attacking conditions after being sick with a virus or bacteria. Many of my own clients noticed that these conditions followed a major life stressor, like a death of a loved one or a divorce. It is believed that somehow these triggers provoke these autoreactive cells to activate. So what fixes autoimmune disease? So as you probably are aware, there are unfortunately no cures for these conditions. Many people find relief from symptoms and progression of these diseases using medication and or lifestyle and diet changes. Treatment for these diseases and conditions can be incredibly frustrating because, again, everyone is different when they have an autoimmune disease. Every autoimmune disease is different. They're never very clear cut. So, drugs are developed for like specific things, and sometimes the medications don't work as you would hope they would. So it is important to remember that, as you're going through treatment, to stay patient and give a number of different options a try. That can mean different combinations of medications. It could be medication plus diet lifestyle. There's a lot of different modalities that we can use. And I know I've talked about this in the past, but there's never kind of a simple, clear-cut answer to curing or, treating autoimmune diseases. The ultimate goal is putting it into remission where your symptoms aren't activated and your disease stays quiet. So, it is possible. It takes time and patience to figure out what works best for you. Speaking of that, I love helping people, work on reducing their symptoms of autoimmune diseases. And I use mainly, a combination of diet and lifestyle techniques to help people. So if you are interested in learning more about that, you can go to my YouTube profile and book a free discovery call. We can chat, learn more about your goals, and to see if I would be a good fit for helping you. Additionally, I've got lots and lots of resources on my website. You'll find a link to my website. I have a very extensive blog. You can peruse through that. I also have free downloadable guides on my website that you can download and check out. And lastly, I try to put these videos out quite often, weekly if I can. Sometimes I get behind, but do try to put these out weekly. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you would be able to get all of my video updates as they come out, and hopefully that will just help you on your journey. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time.